The 44th edition of the Copa America kicks off this week, and Kick TV's James Conrad will be on the ground in Chile bringing you all the very latest, right up until he's deported for wearing those budgie smugglers he insists on wearing whenever he's abroad. To whet your appetite for the action in South America, here's the top 5 matches from the tournament's 99-year history. There are few South American matchups more enticing than Argentina taking on their bitter rivals Brazil, and number 5 is their action-packed meeting in the 2004 final. At that tournament, Adriano was in his pre-drugs, booze and shooting people prime, and he became the Seleção's hero in the 94th minute of extra time when he rifled in an equaliser to make it 2-2, stealing victory away from the Albiceleste, who'd gone 2-1 up in the 87th minute through Cesar Delgado. There are quite often a liberal spattering of red cards when these two sides meet, and although there were none in this one, fans were treated to the spectacle of the teams being separated by the police as tempers boiled over before it went to penalties. Brazil proceeded to put away all 4 of their pens to win their 4th Copa America, prompting Adriano to call it the greatest moment of his career. Sadly, it was probably the last decent moment his career had too. Alright, let's dial it back a few years to 1987 for round number 4. It's the fiercely contested final between Chile and Uruguay, in which Uruguay successfully defended their title with a 1-0 win. Back then, Uruguay were renowned for being, how can I put this politely, a bunch of dirty bastards. But the Chile side they faced were even more willing to kick 7 shades out of their opponents for a win. Throughout the 90 minutes, there were 4 straight red cards issued for various disgraceful challenges and fighting, and frankly, the referee could have given just about everybody a red that day. Seriously, check out the highlights of the game in the description and see the kind of challenges that were let go. Luis Suarez probably would have been allowed to literally bite chunks out of people back then. The 1987 tournament, incidentally, was pretty dirty in general. During a group stage game between Colombia and Bolivia, 4 players were sent off within 5 minutes, all for separate incidents. Gotta love the passion in South America. Alright, on to number 3, and it's what might be one of the biggest shocks in Copa America history. The 2001 quarterfinal when Honduras knocked out a Brazil side who would win the World Cup the following year. Honduras were invited to the tournament in Colombia at the very last minute when Canada and Argentina withdrew for various political reasons. They arrived on a plane sent to them by the Colombian Air Force and barely had enough players to field a team for their first game, which they lost to Costa Rica. No one expected them to do anything special after that, but they won their next 2 group games and earned a knockout game with the Seleção. Former Chelsea man Giuliano Belletti helped Honduras go 1-up when a shot clumsily deflected off him, and current Miami United striker Sal Martinez doubled the lead in injury time, at which point both teams had already had a man sent off for fighting, naturally. Brazil went home with their tails between their legs, and manager Luis Felipe Scolari said, "I will go down in history as the Brazil coach who lost to Honduras. It's horrible." Of course, these days he's better known for winning the World Cup, but it was undoubtedly a humiliating moment for the Samba Boys and the Gene Hackman lookalike. Number 2 is also famous for a humiliation, that of Argentinian striker Martin Palermo in his nation's 3-0 loss to Colombia in the 1999 group stages. Palermo scored twice in Argentina's opener against Ecuador, and he was in good spirits for the match in Luque, Paraguay, after 5 minutes when he lined up to take a penalty, which he hit against the bar. 14 minutes from time, not long after Colombia had also missed a penalty, Palermo took another spot kick, which he blasted over the bar and then administered a fairly painful-looking frustration wedgie. Ouch. Then in the 90th minute, Palermo won yet another penalty, and somehow he summoned up the courage to step up and take it himself. It wasn't third time lucky as the keeper saved it, and Palermo earned a world record for missing 3 penalties in the same game, while his side were defeated 3-0. It must have taken balls of titanium to keep attempting those pens, but it kind of ruined Palermo's international career, as he didn't feature for Argentina again for another 10 years when Diego Maradona called him up. Well, we started this top 5 with a classic Brazil-Argentina bout, and we're going to wrap up with 1-2. Number 1 is their meeting in the first match of the final round in 1991. The previous summer, the Argies had knocked Brazil out of the World Cup in a highly controversial game that featured the holy water scandal, in which Brazil's Branco accused the Argentinian training staff of giving him a water bottle laced with tranquilizers. Blimey. Their subsequent game in Santiago was pretty darn feisty, as it featured 5 goals, a ton of bookings, 5 fights, and 5 red cards. When Enrique and Marcio Santos fought just after the hour mark, they were both sent off, one of them leaving the field on a stretcher. That's a serious fight. And Brazilian striker Careca Bianchesi came on in the 80th minute and managed to get red carded 2 minutes later. Clearly, Steven Gerrard was paying tribute to that moment against Manchester United last season. Argentina won the game 3-2, and the stars of the show were Dario Franco, who scored 2 brilliant headers, and a young Gabriel Batistuta, who scored the 3rd and was the tournament top scorer in what was his competitive debut for the Albiceleste. He was so bloody good that Fiorentina were moved to sign him, and the rest is history. Well, that's our greatest Copa America games. We hope you enjoyed the 2015 edition. Keep it right here on Kick TV for all the latest from Jimmy in Chile. That's it from me. Thanks for watching. Love to your mothers. I'll see you next time.